Can Zhen Huan, blessed with both beauty and talent, truly outshine all in the imperial harem and enjoy everlasting favor? Miss Xia paused to think, and though reluctant, she eventually walked away with a huff. The crowd of onlookers dispersed, and I turned to Lingrong with a smile. I spoke out of turn today, Miss N, please don't mind. Seeing you here alone, would you care to join me and Sister Meizhuang? It would be better for us to support each other, so we're not overwhelmed or at a loss. Gratefully, Lingrong bowed her head and timidly thanked me. Thank you for speaking up for me. Although I come from a humble background, I will never forget today's kindness. I smiled. It was nothing, we're all sisters here for the selection. Why make a fuss? She hesitated slightly. But by defending me, haven't you made trouble for yourself? Meizhuang stepped forward, saying to me, "This is the Imperial Palace, your reckless behavior worries me." Then, turning to Lingrong with a smile, she added, "Look at her causing such a scene. Hardly the behavior of someone eager to be selected. She's not afraid of making enemies." Noticing Lingrong's attire, which was clearly new but made of ordinary fabric, indicative of its common origin, I frowned slightly. Her accessories were modest. Simple silver hairpins and a velvet flower in her hair, and a plain gold bracelet on her wrist with no other adornments. Among the elaborately dressed maidens, she stood out for her plainness. Spotting a brightly blooming begonia in the corner, I took a pair of scissors from the table and swiftly cut 3 branches to adorn Lingrong's hair, instantly adding a touch of elegance. I also removed my jade earrings and put them on her, saying, "Clothes make the man," as the saying goes. With ordinary attire, people are quick to judge. Let these earrings be a gift for our meeting today. Hopefully, they'll help you in the selection. Touched, Lingrong teared up. "Thank you for your generosity, but I'm from a humble background, destined to be eliminated. I fear I can't live up to your kindness." Meizhuang consoled her. "True worth isn't determined by birth. With your beauty, why sell yourself short?" As we spoke, a eunuch came to call Lingrong and a few other maidens into the palace. I gave her an encouraging smile before Meizhuang, and I returned to our places to continue waiting. Upon sitting down, a young palace maid came to serve us tea. Meizhuang and I each took out a piece of silver from our purses to tip her, leaving her delightedly thanking us before she left. Once the maid had gone, Meizhuang expressed her concern. "Such a sharp tongue you have. Aren't you afraid of offending the new concubines?" I took a sip of tea, blowing gently on the surface to cool it, and said quietly, ensuring no one else could hear, "Your concern for me is touching. But consider this. While family background is crucial in the selection, virtue, beauty, and talent are equally important. Despite Miss Xia's noble birth, her behavior hardly befits a potential concubine. Even if she were to enter the palace, her prospects wouldn't be bright. So where is the offense?" Meizhuang nodded, smiling. "You do have a point. No wonder your father has always held you in high regard, praising you as a female zhuge liang. Of course, Miss N does indeed deserve sympathy." I smiled. "That's one aspect. With your background and beauty, your selection is almost certain. While Miss N's background may not be impressive, her grace and beauty could well give her an edge over Miss Xia. Since I have no desire to enter the palace, should Miss N be chosen, it would be good for you to have an ally within. Of course, with so many beautiful women present, whether Miss N will be selected is another matter. Just my 2 cents. Moved, Meizhuang held my hand, grateful. "Thank you for being so considerate. But it's a shame for someone as beautiful as you to not aspire to palace life. It would be like casting pearls before swine if you ended up in an ordinary household." I simply smiled non-committally. Everyone has their own aspirations. Besides, I'm not suited for palace life. I just hope you rise to prominence. As the selection day drew to a close, with the moon climbing high, it was finally our turn to be presented to His Majesty. Most of the maidens had already left, leaving only a few of us anxiously waiting in the warming pavilion. Inside the hall, candles were lit, lining the path from the Emperor's throne to the entrance. Their bright flames mingled with the scent of incense, casting a serene glow over the proceedings. Meizhuang and I, along with 4 other maidens, adjusted our attire and composed ourselves before entering. Following the eunuch's command, we knelt to pay our respects, then stood to the side, waiting for the ceremonial eunuch to call our names one by one for the audience. A veteran eunuch with a shrill voice began to call out, Yi Fangchun, daughter of Yi Jian from the Salt administration of Jiangsu, aged 18. Sun Miaozing, the younger sister of the Suzhou weaver Sun Changhe, aged 17. Fu Xiaotang, the daughter of the prefect of Xuanqing, Fu Shuping, aged 13. I kept my head down, focusing intently on the large blue stone tiles beneath me, each 3 feet square and seamlessly joined, their centers polished to a mirror-like finish and their edges intricately carved with auspicious cloud patterns. The sounds of the preceding maidens' gowns and jewelry softly clashing as they knelt in homage filled the air. Curiosity got the better of me, and I stole a glance at my side, noticing a few of the maidens trembling with nerves, which made me silently chuckle. I couldn't resist sneaking a peek at the emperor and empress on their thrones. The cloud-intent hall was vast and spacious, its walls, beams, and pillars all adorned with cloud motifs, lively and colorful, without the common palace decorations of dragons and phoenixes. Seated above the glittering golden throne adorned with 9 dragons was Xianling, the 4th monarch of the great Zhou dynasty. He wore the imperial crown, with 12 strings of white jade beads hanging in front, obscuring his face and making it difficult to discern his expression. He seemed to lean slightly, showing signs of weariness, probably from spending the day reviewing the maidens, merely nodding in acknowledgement without asking any questions before dismissing them with a wave. It was a pity for these maidens, who had tensely awaited their moment all day, foregoing lunch to preserve their appearance, only to be dismissed so casually. The empress sat to the right of the emperor, her presence dignified and her features graceful and kind. Despite the day's fatigue, she maintained her composure, undiminished in her authority. Shen Meizhuang, daughter of the governor of Jizhou, Shun Zishan, aged 16. Meizhuang stepped forward, her movements graceful. She bowed low and spoke with a voice sweet as a songbird's. This humble daughter, Shun Meizhuang, pays her respects to the emperor and empress, wishing His Majesty eternal fortune and the empress 1,000 years of auspiciousness. The emperor sat up straight, his tone showing a spark of interest. Have you studied any books? His voice echoed in the expansive hall, giving it an ethereal quality, as if from another realm. Meizhuang politely replied, I am of limited intellect and have read little, only familiar with the female precepts and the teachings for women, and know but a few characters. The emperor intoned. These 2 texts emphasize the virtues expected of women, not bad. The empress smiled approvingly. It is important for a lady to be skilled in needlework. Being literate is commendable. Meizhuang, careful not to show too much delight, responded with a slight smile. Thank you for your kind words, your majesties. The empress, still smiling, instructed the ceremonial eunuch. Make a note of her name for retention. Meizhuang stepped back to my side, exhaling softly as we shared a smile. With her grace and beauty, her selection was expected, and I had never doubted it. Then it was my turn. The ceremonial eunuch announced, Zhen Huan, daughter of the Minister of Personnel, Zhan Yuandao, aged 15. I moved forward, bowed deeply and said, This humble daughter, Zhen Huan, pays her respects to the Emperor and Empress, wishing His Majesty eternal fortune and the Empress 1,000 years of auspiciousness. The Emperor hummed softly in acknowledgement and asked, Which Huan are you? Without thinking, I blurted out, as in the verse by Kai Shen, Huan, a slender waist like that of a Chu palace lady. That is my maiden name. Immediately, I regretted my impulsive reply. It was a mistake to have been so forthright, potentially drawing the emperor's attention, contrary to my intentions. Indeed, the emperor chuckled and said, You seem well versed in literature. Zhan Yuandao has taught his daughter well. But I wonder if you live up to your name. Look up. I knew I couldn't avoid it. Regretting my earlier sharpness, I hoped the emperor, after seeing so many beauties from across the land, might find my modest appearance uninteresting. The empress said, Come closer. As she spoke, she glanced sideways and a nearby eunuch, catching her cue, spilled a cup of water in front of me. Unsure of their intent, I proceeded as if it were nothing, stepping forward confidently. The empress smiled, very dignified. The emperor lifted the jade beads of his crown slightly, took a moment and then praised, Soft and graceful, charming and delicate. You truly live up to your name. The empress added, Your attire is also very elegant. complementing Miss Shun's like the perfect harmony of pink peaches and green willows. With my head bowed, feeling my face flush, I remained silent, overwhelmed by the shimmering golden light and the lingering fragrance around me. The emperor nodded with a smile, instructing the ceremonial eunuch, "Note her name for retention." The empress turned to the emperor with a smile. "The concubines selected today are all exceptional, both in literary talent and virtuous temperament, truly adding to the harmonious atmosphere of the palace." The emperor smiled slightly but remained silent. My heart sank. The man seated high above the emperor would be the one I'd rely on for the rest of my life. I bowed deeply and silently rejoined the line. Seeing Mei Zhuang's beaming smile, I could only return it. My mind was in turmoil, unsure how to react to this unexpected selection, my thoughts drifting away from the others. As the session concluded, following the eunuch's instructions, whether selected or not, we all bowed in thanks before filing out in an orderly line. Just outside the Cloud and Tent Hall, I heard a loud thump behind me. Turning around, I saw Yifeng Chun, the daughter from the Salt administration of Jiangsu, collapse, her face pale and covered in cold sweat, likely overwhelmed by her dismissal. I sighed. Those who wished to stay couldn't, while those who didn't were kept. As we spoke, Yifeng Chun was helped away by the attending eunuchs and maids. Mei Zhuang adjusted the slipping hibiscus in my hair, whispering, "Why sigh, sister? Being chosen for the palace is a blessing many long for. Besides, with both of us entering together, we can look out for each other. The eunuch has already gone to announce our selection. Your father will be overjoyed." Twisting the plum blossom tassels on my gown, I remained silent for a moment before quietly saying, "Mei Zhuang, I truly didn't intend for this." She gently tugged at my sleeve, speaking softly, "I understand. I've always said that with your talents and beauty, it would be impossible to avoid this fate on your own." She paused, her smile fading into a serious expression. "Besides, with our abilities, do we really deserve to settle for mediocrity?" As Mei Zhuang was comforting me, an elderly palace maid approached with a lantern to lead us out of the palace. The maid's face was wreathed in smiles as she bowed to us. "Congratulations to the two young ladies on being selected as imperial concubines." Mei Zhuang and I responded with reserved smiles, handed her some silver as a token of our appreciation, and slowly made our way to the Yuxiang Gate, arm in arm. Only a few carriages remained outside the Yuxiang Gate, their glass lanterns swaying in the wind as if caught in an involuntary dance. My personal maids, Lu Zhu and Huan Bai, who had been waiting in the carriage, hurried over with cloaks as they saw us approaching. Huan Bai supported my arm, saying softly, "Miss, you must be tired." Lu Zhu draped a brocade cloak over my shoulders and fastened it securely. Mei Zhuang was assisted into her carriage by her maid, Kaiyu. She pulled back the curtain of her carriage to speak to me with concern. "The etiquette instructor from the palace will be visiting our homes in a few days to teach us palace etiquette. Before the imperial decree officially summons us to enter the palace, we sisters won't be able to see each other. Take care of yourself." I nodded in acknowledgement as Lu Zhu and Huan Bai helped me into my carriage. The palace maid standing below bowed respectfully, bidding us farewell. I respectfully sent off the two young ladies. I lifted the curtain to look back one last time. The evening sky was a blend of inky darkness and a purplish gold twilight, like a long, colorful brocade unfurling. Against this enchanting backdrop, the majestic and splendid Forbidden City exuded an indescribable aura of awe, leaving a profound impression on me.
Follow us to avoid getting lost and enjoy endless exciting stories. For more content, please go to the Story Wall homepage to view more exciting novels.